into the outer realms where the paranormal and the supernatural are the normal and the natural. And I have to tell you flat out, because it's part of what tonight is about. It's part about what Craig and I were talking about with MK Ultra next week. There are people that do not want to make this normal, and they do not want to make it natural because they benefit by the fear factor. They benefit by obfuscation, by suppressing data, testimony, firsthand experience. It only has to be military people, and now it can be the FAA. It's okay now, which we're going to talk about tonight. So we're going to talk about this document here. It is the unclassified version that came out of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. They call it a preliminary assessment. They have been assessing for 75 years. And if you really want to go back in the record, as one of our guests tonight, Reverend Carter, talks about, they were assessing this during biblical times. This has been going on forever. But okay, so let's say 75 years after Trinity, the bomb test, suddenly a signature goes out, a nuclear signature, and they go, planet Earth has guns. We got to check this out. So a lot of obfuscation, you know that. I'm going to bring some context, some history. I think we're going to make you go, wow, through this whole thing. We are going to be fair. We are going to be balanced. But we're going to check out this document and go, we think this is inaccurate. And this is an obfuscation. And what is the core narrative? As storytellers, all of us, we're interested in core narratives. So Craig Ansell's with us. Reverend Carter's with us for the third time. I'm so excited. If somebody would have told me that, I never would have believed it. So let's roll the intro because we have a lot to do tonight. And welcome, because I think you're just going to be interested and amazed.
There exists a realm beyond our wildest dreams, a realm beyond reality that the gatekeepers and guardians have always told us consists of nothing but tricks of the eye, weather balloons, swamp gas, sand cranes, fairy tale myths of monsters, crackpot conspiracy theories, and desperate cries for attention.
We know this realm exists, and it's just beyond the horizon. The preset path, the well-worn walkways where the cynics want us to stay.
Instead, give this a listen. Put on your headphones, adjust your volume, close your eyes, and fasten your mental seatbelts, because the twilight-tinged turnoff from reality's alluring highway is looming just ahead.
We're about to leave the plane of the easily explained, couldn't possibly be's, and the no way I just saw what I saw's, for the spaces and places where everything is possible, and if you stay long enough, even probable. We're about to take a journey into the outer realms.
Hey everyone, live long and prosper. You know Reverend Carter is in the house because I have some of my Star Trek gear out. Very excited. We have Spock with some great advice. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. It's very good advice there. Folks, I want to address the comments before I bring my esteemed colleagues on tonight, and that is no exaggeration at all. We are streaming to 3 different places. We are streaming to YouTube, and we are streaming to 2 different Facebook channels. So depending on where you tune in, those are the comments that you can see live in real time. Now, I will put up as many of the comments as I can while my colleagues are talking. I'll keep that flowing. But this gives you an opportunity to go check out a different platform and see what people are saying. Who goes to YouTube as opposed to who goes to the Interrealms page? Who goes to the Joy Media page. But without further ado, I am going to bring on my colleagues so we can dive in. Reverend Carter, welcome, sir.
Hey, brother. Good to see you again.
At the end of the show, I want to give you an opportunity. You got some exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. And let's bring on Craig Ansell. Craig, oh, man. co-host, driving force behind Wednesday night at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. or 8:30, brother? Where is it now?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Three Beards podcast. How we met through Three Beards Progress. Craig helped me co-found the Red Thread Collective, our fringe theory group, and now Craig is co-hosting with me a couple times a month a little project we call Greg and Joey's Sinister Mysteries. Thanks for everyone who tuned in last week. MK Ultra came out of the gates, and if you didn't get enough, tune in 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the national radio show Manson Mitchell, because these two guys got invited to talk about MK Ultra on that radio show. I'm pretty jazzed. How you doing tonight, Craig?
Doing good. Doing really good.
All right.
Excited to get into
Joey's
this.
got to shut his yap and let you guys dive in right now with this document.
No, well, I mean, it's one of those things. I'm gonna defer to Michael, the Reverend there, because if, like I said, this copy doesn't look anything like the front page of your notes. If you actually compare notes with what Joey's got there, you're going to see a lot more decoration on this page than mine.
Oh, my rabbit hole scribbling.
Yes. So I said, so when you're going to start, I'm like, I've got the thoughts. I go, but I don't have anything colorful I can show off.
No, mine too, because Joey just sent it to me. Was it yesterday or today? Yeah. But well, what got me about it is just I stopped counting, but threat, fear. And so, I mean, and it's nothing new. I mean, we know how our government works and how they keep people where they want people. And, they're a threat. They're a possible national security threat. They're a threat to our commercial airlines because of, well, the skies is too crowded. I forgot what they said. But I mean, it's the same old stuff. But the thing is, brothers, is that it works.
Yeah.
That's why they keep using it, because it works. And so here we have this whole fear-based narrative. Of course, it's always a little truth kind of sprinkled in, but they've been doing this for 75 years. I just got through watching, I got two more episodes, Project Blue Book.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been seeing that? I've been enjoying it, but I don't think it's going to be on a third season. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Be nice. But they're just taking you through the whole thing. It's Hollywoodized, but the government's been lying about this for so long. And so I was so glad you sent this to me, Joey, but I'm not surprised.
I don't know if everybody can read that line. I'm going to put it up there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
UAP clearly pose a safety of flight issue and may pose a challenge to U.S. national security. And the whole reason for that.
And to paraphrase Jean-Luc, national security, the age-old cry for those who want to keep you oppressed. This is done in the name of national security. So there you have it.
Well, what better way to justify expenditures through the Pentagon than it's a threat? Yeah. If you read the whole thing, I mean, we could post the link for the, I think for the PDF, like I said, I'll see if I can find it and I'll type that in while we're talking here. But that's, as you're reading through, that was one of the prevailing themes. I was getting here. It's like, it's not so much, it's a lot of stuff that's just like, they're just kind of glossing over things, but you get the theory is just, I want you to understand they are a clear and present danger to the United States national security and a threat to you while you're in a commercial aircraft. But we're not going to tell you what those threats are, where they're at, what they're doing, anything that's we'll get to it. But I mean, the one thing that they can identify is a balloon.
Yeah.
And that's all they get to.
That was the one thing.
But we're supposed to believe this is a threat. And so the thing, I mean, for me, if it was trying to scare us into like, oh my God, call my senator, please spend money on this right now. It's not working because I'm not buying that there's an actual threat. I mean, why am I supposed to be scared about a light in the sky?
Yeah.
I saw a light. I'm like, this doesn't seem that scary.
Let's for the audience who doesn't know this, and it's up here. Craig is making amazing banners for us, and it's sitting right there beautifully, right to his left as you're watching this.
That way.
Yeah. The preliminary assessment of the unidentified aerial phenomena, what used to be called UFOs. We are going to talk quite a bit tonight about this nomenclature change. As Craig pointed out on the second page, okay, they're claiming, geez, we just don't have enough data, but we're only going back to 2004 for some reason, right? So the Navy has taken lead on this. But listen to this list, folks. You got the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. You, of course, have Department of Defense. You got FBI. You got DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. NRO, National Reconnaissance Organization. And GA, that's Geospace. You got National Security Agency, Air Force, Army, Navy. In the Office of Naval Intelligence, you got DARPA, which is the Defense Advanced Research Project Administration. You got the FAA finally in there. You got the NOAA, the big government weather guys. And they're saying, well, we just don't know. We need more money. We need more resources. We need a bigger data set. And this, to me, is the great lie. Reverend Carter has been on the show twice. He's written books. He's been on Ancient Aliens and made other appearances. He's going to tell you about some exciting stuff. He's going to be up and coming if you're in the area to go see him speak. There are data sets of people who have experience. You guys saw Wes Roberts on our show a couple weeks ago. I have Mark Fiorentino, Les Velez. They're running groups with hundreds of people talking about their experiences. And yet, gentlemen, the government is saying, we don't have the data set. We don't have the pilots. We don't have the data. And when they do bring data, maybe our multi-billion-dollar equipment is faulty. Your thoughts on this?
No, it's complete BS. I mean, it's one of those. We have all this technology. I mean, they basically make it seem like we have the CCTV of your local bank that can't get a clear picture of the bank robber, but we've got this technology on craft that can see. You can have a clear digital image of a terrorist in Afghanistan, showing the figure in infrared walking, and you can see the missile hit. You can see the dust and everything explode out. You can see all this stuff in real time, but we don't have the technology to get a clear image of a moving thing that's in front of the plane. I don't buy it. I believe that even what they released with the Tic Tac footage, I believe that was degraded intentionally. That's why it's not clear. I don't have, for one instance, believe they don't have a clear shot. I believe that this, as three of us are on screen, they have that image. They have a crystal clear image of exactly what it looks like, but they're not going to release that. They're just going to show us the grainy CCTV footage. And they're like, well, see, we gave you the footage. I mean, what more do you want?
But this is what they say to you, Craig, in the unclassified report, which also is going to the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Let's remember, this supposed disclosure came out for line items in the budget. Not because we really want to know and we want to make friends they say this. The sensors mounted on U.S. military platforms are typically designed to fill specific missions. As a result, those sensors are not generally suited for identifying UAP. You have to tell me that they send these planes up in mission conditions and they don't have sensors to identify bogeys, to identify the unexpected? That's a sad state of affairs for the United States military, if that's true.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it is true. I'm thinking of my thing is this, guys. They're trying to buy time. Like I said before, they got to get out on the front of this thing because someone's going to see something. Someone's going to take a picture. Someone's going to see maybe not only a craft, but some brother or sister get out of it. They're going to see something. And so they got to get out ahead of this thing. And so what they're saying is, hey, we're doing the best we can. That's it. Yeah. And so at least to my mind, and I don't want to oversimplify it because it's always, it's always a little more complicated, but we're in 2022. People, I don't know what the numbers show, but most people, many people, would not be surprised that we're not alone. there would not be the great chaos and confusion and the collapse of society. That would not happen. The only thing that would happen is those folks who are making money off of armaments, places that, the healthcare industry. First of all, if these people can get here and craft, then there goes BP and Exxon and those type of folk. I mean, this is not new. Brother Greer talks about it all the time, among other people. They probably have healing capabilities. I can speak to that would put us to shame. So all these institutions that are making money and getting rich off the status quo, the last thing they want. It reminds me of this joke someone told me about Jesus. You probably heard it. He was on his way to Jerusalem and he's healing people and blessing people along the way. People's diseases are going away and, he's doing his thing. He gets right outside Jerusalem. There's a guy laying down on a cot. Jesus goes over to put his hand on him. And the guy says, no, don't touch me. I'm on Medicaid. You know what I mean? I mean, don't touch me. I need this. I don't want it. And so,
You're cutting off my revenue stream.
And so these are the people. It's always follow the trail. Who's going to benefit from this? It's a threat. Because when I go, not me, but when we go to Congress and the Pentagon asking for all these trillions of dollars for defense, who is it going to be? Well, it can't always be the Russians. It can't always be China. It is now. It can't always be in the Middle East. Oh, we got a threat from outer space. We have to justify it. And that's the kind of short-sightedness, the kind of fear-based thinking that will destroy us. Because you can't continue to build with that type of mentality that everything is a threat, but people are making money off of it. People are they're rich off of it. And the status quo wants to be the status quo. And so, yes, some people who are not into it as much as we are, who've not been following it, this is like, and it is in a way, great news. The government's, trying to be transparent. And there's some truth to that. But they always do something for a reason. Yeah. And this is to buy time. Here, look at this. Look at this. What are we going to do? People are seeing these things everywhere. People are talking about hybrids. Some of these people are having contact with just take this. We'll get to you. That's what I see this as how do we buy some time until we decide what narrative we're going to give the people.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to kind of like piggyback on that too, because that was the thing that they're doing is, Project Solar Warden. That's been for a long time that we've had a secret space program. Yeah, we've had that stuff going out there. Well, what they can't just walk up one day and say, hey, guess what, guys? Hey, we've got spaceships out, that are off planet. We've been operating for a while. People are going to be like, you do what? So what they have to do, everybody remembers Rumsfeld, September 10th, 2001, comes out, trillions of dollars unaccounted for. Yeah. I think that was one of the first times it's like, hey, guys, there's something, I can't tell you what, but there's something. And then we have the creation of Space Force. Everybody mocks Donald Trump, everybody, he's a buffoon. Look, he created this joke branch. No, I think that was the first step in giving you a legitimate face to what is actually out there. Now we have a branch that can recruit. You can actually be part of the Space Force. And so if they ever come clean and say, hey, we need people to be on the ship, well, you've already got people that are signing up to be part of Space Force. And then now you've got these things. I think even though a lot of this is just, like you said, they're not really telling you much. I think it's the same thing. They're at the same time, they're getting, like what we said, you're getting you to think, to where it's just so mundane. You're just like, yeah, it's a thing flying in the sky. But, so when they actually come out, it's not going to be shocking. It's not going to be as shocking. We'll be like,
no, it's true. Even all these Star Trek movies coming out, we're being kind of programmed that this is the kind of future you're going into. Yep. Now, Star Trek, obviously, the Federation is a little more benevolent than our government. They have high ethics and ideals, prime directives, that kind of thing, which no one really ever sticks to. But the point being is that we are slowly but surely. I mean, it's genius. These folks are geniuses. They're just like kind of criminal geniuses. What would happen if they put their energy into maybe, sharing redistribution of wealth or things of that nature? People having food, for instance, just the little things. But it buys them time. And while, all these Star Trek movies out there, more coming, it's almost like mind control, to the sense like what Craig said, oh, it's okay. You saw some lights. Is it ours or is it theirs? Is it the Star People's craft or is it ours? And maybe one day we'll get to that. But right now, we're with all that's going on, this kind of talk of threat, of flying in our airspace, look, you don't have to be a political scientist at Harvard to get, if these folks wanted to take over, they could have done that just a long time ago. They've got like 42nd century or more technology. We're barely struggling here with what we have. But I think if we just let it play out, shows like this, what we're doing here, so people can listen, make their own assessments, it will play out. But with all the threat talk, you kind of know where they want it to go.
Right.
I mean, didn't MacArthur say the next war would be in space? And then Reagan made that comment in the 80s. I wonder what would happen if we would do this. But MacArthur said our next war would be a war with outer space.
Yeah.
Predictive programming.
How about Werner von Braun, who we give a lot of airtime on the show? But came over, Project Paperclip,
and Carolyn Chosen, who worked with
him. And he said, it's going to be wars against countries, and it's going to be religious wars, and it's going to be terrorism, and the fifth one, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, is aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
this was planned like back in the 50s and 60s. Yeah. So while we're asleep, these brothers and sisters are plotting and scheming, and they're it's brilliant. They're brilliant, but it's just in a low frequency, in a low vibration kind of way.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So let's talk about Star Trek for a minute. And Craig, I know you got some stuff. I'm going to turn it over to you in a second. So 1966, 67, out comes the show. And the Federation is highly evolved. No more money. They've been through some ugly things, an ugly past. Everyone's involved. They're out. They're making peace. They got the Prime Directive and all. People are up in arms right now because Alex Kurtzman and Akiva Goldsman are making the Federation, like in Strange New Worlds, and I think also in Discovery, like people go, oh, the Federation, you're not all you cracked up to be. Like, okay, you're pretty good, but you're morally ambiguous. So Jessica was saying we can take lessons from the Federation, but I think that this predictive program is closing the gap. Because I think these smart government people who are real attached to Hollywood, Reverend, they're going, oh, that idealism doesn't serve our purpose. That's fantasy. So we have to make the Federation a little more like the United States, right? So instead of saying the Federation is the ideal, to go, well, maybe the Federation isn't perfect, but like democracy, it's the best thing we've come up with yet.
Well, I mean, the Federation was never perfect.
Yeah.
They had like anybody, you read our Declaration of Independence, right? High ideals, beautiful, beautiful document, except for the obvious. So, but that's what you have Section 31 for. Yeah. You have Section 31 that's saying what we're doing, the ends justify the means because it's for the good of, it's like Jack Nicholson to Tom Cruise. You can't handle the truth. Of course we can handle the truth. But for me, it's just getting myself, well, I'm 65, but my daughter's 16, to get that next generation used to AI, used to seeing lights in the sky. Because remember, the Federation, for all of its goodness, for lack of a better word, they are still a military organization. They can talk about science and all that, but you don't have lieutenants and lieutenant commanders. That's a military organization. So in some ways, it gives the impression that you can be. It glorifies the military in some way. In some ways, I love it. I mean, I watch it. We're living in that time in many ways, but you don't want to be drawn in by that because it's still a military organization. Not that the military is wrong. I'm not saying that, but we know that if cooler heads don't prevail, you don't want the military ruling everything.
Right.
You don't want that. That's what this democratic experiment was supposed to be about.
Mm-hmm.
But I think basically we're being kind of led down this path that technology will be the savior.
Yeah.
And it won't be. Spirituality will be the savior. You know, if what they were saying with Brother Eisenhower, if that was true in the Nordics and all that, they were like, look, get rid of your toys because you don't know what to do with them. We can show you how to walk this spiritual path, and then you'll get your toys. But what we're doing is just the opposite. We want the toys, but we don't have the wisdom or the ethics to use them. And so we're going to destroy ourselves and probably some other people along the way.
Well, and to piggyback what you just said too, it's just, I would agree with that, because if you think about it, as harsh as it seems, most people are inherently, it's lazy. You want the easiest way. So what's easier? Take the spiritual path, which takes discipline, which takes all this time, effort, or I could just have the brain chip implanted in my head.
Right.
And it gives me all the information. I could plug into it, for how silly it looks right now. Truly one of the scariest things that's coming out right now is the metaverse. This is literally, you're watching the Matrix being created in front of your face. This is going to be, I'm trying to remember, it was the Bruce Willis movie where they had this, I think it was Surrogate was the name of the movie. And it was one where everybody was in like their own kind of pod. They had the virtual reality things on. They were alive, but their surrogate was the one that was going out working, playing baseball, just doing all this, just all the jobs while you were sitting here just in a room in this pod. Well, what it's going to do is that's going to be detrimental to us as a species, because we are basically going to start degrading. You'll atrophy, just like anybody seen the Matrix. Look at, Neo comes out of the pod. Look at him. He's emaciated. He's not, he barely has muscle mass. I mean, he's basically just a little bit of skin and muscle over the skeleton, but that's by design, is you can't escape. You can't escape from it. And there's people that are full on like, no, I want this. I want to plug in. Every time we turn around, they're like, look at me, and you've got your big thing over your face. They're like, oh, this is so cool. Well, meanwhile, you got Reverend sitting right next to you, and he's just like, let's talk. You're like, oh, are you kidding? Right now I'm exploring the Grand Canyon. Well, how about we actually go to the Grand Canyon and have a spiritual journey and actually experience what God created, what this thing is, and we can have this.
Yeah.
No, I'd rather just plug in. And that's where, like with this stuff, where a comment that was just on there, the fake alien invasion.
Yeah.
That was kind of just plugs right in there, because it's that same thing. It's so easy as people plug into this technology. I mean, I'm trying to, it was the latest Spider-Man. Well, it was not the latest one. It was the one before that, where he used drone technology to create that alien invasion.
Yeah.
And it would be super easy to do that. You could do something like that, and that's all that they would take. And there's going to be so many people that are going to fall along like, oh my God, look what's right over here. We're watching this. Please, 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 almighty, government, take control, save me, save me, save me. And then next thing you know, like I said, because that's the easy path. Everybody wants to take the easy way out. They don't want to put the work in.
And that's what Cal Josen was talking about in Disclosure, talking to Werner von Braun, is that they are as a hologram, and they can create an invasion, and everybody will flip out and go, the government saved me, and that's what's going on, where you're looking, your government becomes your God.
Yeah. Well put.
And what happens is that, it's Machiavellian. You create a false flag,
Yep.
and you say, we're the only people who can save you. And then you come in and you say, but you've created the whole chaos in the first place. Now, of course, people say, oh, that's just conspiracy theory. But now we're starting to see that that the government does do these things, or they hire people to do these things so they can have deniability. But we could very well see it. You could see a fake second coming.
Yeah.
Oh,
You could have someone fake Jesus coming back. I mean, this is where this technology is going, and you would have probably a great many people on the planet believing it.
Yeah.
And we know these people will stop at nothing, because now it sounds like doom and gloom. I'm just going to segue real quick. But we got to realize, at least from where I'm coming from, that this is a paradigm shift that's happening, that we do have a chance. I mean, 2,000 years ago, we were in the Piscean age. Now we're in the age of Aquarius. I'm not talking about we're all going to sing Kumbaya, but there is this surge towards oneness that people all over the world are saying the old way is not working. I don't care whether you're in Sri Lanka or whether you're in Britain or whether you're in Mississippi. People are saying we want to be free. And so you have two different visions of the world. I don't want to oversimplify Star Trek versus Handmaid's Tale. It's too oversimplified. But the media is in on it too. They're coming from this fear. Democracy is messy.
Yeah.
Okay. And so do you really want to go through the mess? Trying to have equality and justice is messy. And so maybe a new world is being born, because the old way, the center can't hold. And maybe we're right in the middle of it now, those of us on the planet at this time. It's like when you let go of one trapeze and you're waiting for the other one to come, and you're in between. Which are we going to destroy ourselves? Is the comet going to hit us? Is the planet going to blow? Or are we going to go, listen, we got to stop fighting each other over who sleeps with who and what color your skin is. And, whether you're red or blue, we're in that. It's exciting in a way, and it's also scary. But we get the choice. And it's going to be interesting to see what choices we make, collectively speaking.
Right. And that's kind of like, it's easy. It's easy to hate. It's easy for me to just like, Reverend Michael Carter, God, idiot, and just drop all the thing and just never talk to him again. That's the easy. Yeah, and that's what a lot of people do. That's the easy way out of stuff, is just to go like this. But what takes actual time, effort, and stuff is to sit there and realize, you know what? Do some self-reflection. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe he might have something I need to learn from, and you listen. Listen. You talk with people. And that's where stuff, somebody just mentioned, like Project Bluebeam. There's a lot of stuff, like you look on things, people automatically just say, "Now this is false. This is a weird conspiracy theory that's been around since '94." But you look at these things; these have a definite. I mean, you can't deny that it is really impossible. If anybody that knows government, they're very rarely are they proactive. They're always reactive to things. So when you see something come out and all of a sudden they're like, guess what? We also have the solution. You're like, that was planned. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no way. You did not see this coming. You did not prepare for this, other than you were probably behind the initial thing to create the problem. So that way we can trot out our solution. Here is the thing that we've come out to save you from your problem. And you're like, yeah, there's something, the fake
created the problem in the first place. Yeah. I mean, it's brilliant. I'm telling you, it's ingenious, and it works. And that's why it keeps happening over and over and over again. But people are more woke now, and I don't mean that in just as I don't think anything negative about it. But when they ask Buddha, are you a god? No. Are you a prophet? No. Are you a holy man? No. What do you say? I'm awake. Yeah. Nothing wrong with being awake. From a spiritual standpoint. But
they've already created the solution. That's the problem.
Oh, yeah. It's a threat. We don't know what it is.
They've already created the solution to this.
From it, But and I got to say this, and I'm not going to mention names, but I know this: once you work for intelligence, you are always in intelligence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like the
So
mafia.
that's all I'm going to say, because I
Yeah.
know some people talk out of both sides of their mouths, but I know once you're in intelligence, you are always in intelligence. It's like if you were in a
first
Cosa
initial
Nostra,
L?
I'm retired from the mafia. I don't think so. So I'm just saying, and that's how intelligence works. It gives you a little bit of truth. It gives you a little bit, and it gives you a little bit of confusion, so you can't sift through what is. Because I've heard certain people use the term threat about this, and I've heard individuals say this is our airspace, and at the same time, they're saying, "Oh, yeah, see, they're real." So I'm leaving it at that.
Yeah. Well, you know that saying that's if you're catching flack, you're over the target. That's an old saying. And I go, I don't care whether, the whole debate over, the popular guys right now in UFO, just, LE and, you got these other, I don't care about what I look at is the people that, if I see somebody come out and they're saying this stuff and everybody is saying, is attacking like instantly. It's like attack, shut this guy down. He's getting banned. I'm like, that's probably somebody who is telling something that can't be said, that's not supposed to be being said. The one that can go on TV, say all this stuff, still go walking around the halls of Washington, D.C., taking photo ops. I go, that guy is somebody who still has connections, and they, you don't have connections if you're upsetting the establishment. I mean, you're cut off. I mean, that's why I actually believe more of like Bob Lazar and some of the stuff he says, because he's not allowed within anything that's has a security clearance.
Well, he's lucky to still be alive.
Yeah, and that's and people say, well, no, I don't believe this stuff. I'm like, really? Because he can't go anywhere near a facility without being, most likely arrested on the spot.
Yeah, I just feel that the closer people get to things, then you get more resistance. But sometimes I just hear people talking out of both sides of their mouths. But whenever I hear someone talk about this is a threat, then it's just me, forgive me. But I say, oh, I have to watch you. You can't walk right and talk left.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
No, I agree.
Right. I would like to do,
Joey.
Yeah, I would like to do a little history portion of the show.
Please.
Put some context before I turn it back over to these guys to pull apart. So a couple pages into this document, they claim that no standardized reporting mechanism existed until the Navy established one in March of 2019.
What page are you on, Joey? What page?
I think that's the fourth page.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, where they say available reporting largely inconclusive. Okay, I'm going to read that again. No standardized reporting mechanism existed until the Navy established one in March of 2019. Now, we know because of the New York Times article about ATIP, but let's go back. Wow. Let's go back to 1947. The Trinity test signal goes up. Yeah. The CIA is created. Soon after that, the Department of Defense, the Secretary of Defense is created during this time.
Was that Oppenheimer? Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Well, James Forrestal was the first.
Right. Oh boy, yeah.
Who came to nefarious ends? Poor guy.
Yes.
So 1947, Project Sign. 1949, it becomes Project Grudge. 51, it becomes Blue Book. Most people know about Blue Book. The History Channel had a couple seasons. Most people have heard of Blue Book.
Yeah.
1969, there's something called the Condon Committee. Edward Condon heads up a committee where they're saying the same thing where they're saying right now. Folks, keep in mind that in 1947, Project Sign through the Air Force, they studied 250 cases. In 1947. So Condon and his guys look at all this data, and Stanton Friedman, bless his heart, I miss him. I got to meet him 2 days before he passed. He said it's out there. The data is out there. We have it. The Condon Committee said nothing to look at here, folks. There's nothing. So that was the first big one, 1969. Okay, what happens then? we get this ATIP. Okay, and this is what is supposedly leaked through the New York Times by guys who, and we won't name names.
No,
we won't name names, but people who worked in counterintelligence, army intelligence, national intelligence, come out and they leak this thing because they say the people deserve the truth.
Yeah.
Now, are these people Bob Lazard? No.
Nope.
They can still go walk the halls of Washington anytime they want. They bounce through this group, that group, the other group. This is a huge red flag to me. ATIP then becomes what is in this document, the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. This document is dated 25 June 2021. November of 2021, 5 months after this big document comes out, it becomes the Airborne Object Identification and Management. 3 weeks ago, folks, it became the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. It's run by a man named Sean P. Kirkpatrick. Physicist, comes from an Army family, comes from Georgia, Army facilities down in Georgia. Intelligence officer, got a fellowship through the United States Navy Research Lab. Then he went to work for the United States Air Force Research Lab.
Look at these credentials, man.
Then he was at the NRO, National Reconnaissance Office, satellites. Then he went to work for the CIA, and then he became a division chief for the CIA DIA. And this is the guy who's now heading up this program. Like you were saying,
and he's going to tell you all. He's going to tell you the truth. That's what he's trained. That's what he's trained to do. You can tell by the credentials.
Yeah.
He is a truth teller.
Yeah.
You can believe a spook, that's for sure. Yeah. You're like, oh, he's telling me that he's giving it to be square.
Yeah. So they're changing names all the time, just like Craig and I said with MK Ultra. You change the names. You got it. So now anybody who does a FOIA, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 organizations that you have to ask for data. And according to this document, they only started collecting data in 2014. Are you kidding me?
Well, I was just thinking about too after we talked about that, because one of those, you change the name, your request isn't there, but the crazy part, and I was just thinking about that, when you change the name to another organization, now if Joey and Reverend are involved in that, anything that your name is involved prior can now be redacted. So you can redact all this information. So that's how you're going to end up, even with the Freedom of Information Act, you're going to end up with this page that's just mostly blacked out. Yeah, I know. That's why it was the beginning when I said, don't look at my plain little highlighted notes. You got to look at I've written paragraphs in between the margins. I go, his notes are a little more impressive than mine. So don't look at me.
I feel like my mission, part of my mission is the parallels and the patterns and the historical context. We have to know that they're playing a game of hide and seek, and they're trying to evaporate their trail. But this was stunning to me that they would say, we just don't have, ask Peter Davenport at Newfork, who I've gotten to speak to off air, and go, look, Joey, I've talked to guys who were on nuclear subs, and these babies got shut down for a couple minutes. I know guys who work at nuclear facilities, and they shut them down. They didn't destroy them. They didn't fire off the nukes. Right. But it sends a clear message. I remember when I was my brother and I were in high school, and my dad used to say, and he worked an hour and a half away and worked a lot of hours. He'd go, you never know when I'm going to show up. And one day my brother ditched school, and he's in the arcade at the Jersey Shore, and my pops walks in the door, right? That's what they're saying here. They're going, I could show up anytime, anywhere, and you best behave, right? It's a daddy kind of thing. It's more of a daddy kind of thing than a bully. Or my son and I just revisited Independence Day. And there are murmurs that Roland Emmerich got a lot of inside help from this alphabet soup. Why? Because that is a narrative of domination, right? What is Jeff Goldblum and the rest say? Yeah, they go, these guys are scavengers. They go to one planet and they use it up, and they come to our planet and now they're going to use it up. That's what these guys do. Oh my gosh, that's scary as hell. What they're really talking about sort of is the human narrative, right? Like we've used this planet. If there are alien invaders to Earth, it's probably the human race.
But it also too shows you, because just the close connection between Hollywood and the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Hollywood, because if they don't greenlight some of this stuff, you can't show the military in a bad light. You really can't.
Right.
I mean, if you do, you get away with it. It's really refreshing, but there's a close connection between Hollywood and, well, there was a book I may have it back in the 80s or 90s, Hollywood and the Aliens, but it showed that connection with the Pentagon, with Congress, and how we are depicted, how they're depicted. To this day, I do not watch anything where the star people are the bad guys or the bad girls, because it's just, come on. It's just not even the narrative you want to be absorbing. Yeah. But this is the connection that's made. I mean, I loved Independence Day. I didn't know any better. I don't even know. I don't remember where it came out, but I just don't want to see that kind of stuff, because it feeds into the narrative that these people are a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they trotted out a sequel while all this was happening.
Yeah,
Tip was breaking and all that, and the sequel is even more rah. And after 20 years, they come back to finish the job, and it's the alien queen, right? They got people popping out of torso. I mean, it's such a ripoff of other things. You go, why were they so compelled to make this movie? Mm-hmm. Because Roland Emmerich played the game once and he played it again. He's willing to come out and go, forget Star Trek, man. These things want to eat your babies. They want
to. I'm not saying everything has to be E.T.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, come on, man. If anything, they may be afraid of us.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't, because we've both had Reverend Carter on there. He showed the statues that he has. You can't, if you want control, you can't normalize those things. You can't have those like Starfleet, that we're all going to be wearing the red shirts, with the communicator badges right next to each other. Me working side by side with a Palladian. That can't be the narrative, because that doesn't scare you. That doesn't scare you into submission. That doesn't scare you into dropping to your knees and begging me, the mighty government, to come and help you and bail you out. I go, you've got to have that alien that's going to psychically take you over, and it becomes an instant threat, because that's the only way. When we see one, you want people to freak out and run in fear.
The name alien, I don't like to use the word. I mean, because it's so fear-based, but call it what you will. But you don't want, if I start seeing myself as a citizen of the universe, of the cosmos, as the multiverse, call it what you will, I'm not going to be any good to you if you want me to be this kind of nationalistic, uber patriotic individual, because you're then I'm the threat, because I'm it's got to be U.S. right or wrong. You've got to be on my team, and life doesn't work that way. But for this paradigm that they want to keep us in, it's got to be us and them. You can't be friends with, because let me tell you something. I guess if they really wanted to, people like me and you guys, all the other experiencers out there, they could say technically, you know what? You've been in contact with an adversary, or however they want to. They could say, maybe you got some microbes or some germs. And they could say, come with us. Don't worry, we'll look. I mean, technically they could. I mean, they could do that, but and let's hope they don't. But my point being is that we're no good to the status quo if we're saying, let's expand, right? Because that's what your spirituality says. But your fear says, no, let's contract. Yeah. We're seeing it now. And we'll see.
I'm not sure what that body language means. Me and Joey are both like this.
I'm
I just
listening.
know.
It means I'm listening.
We're both listening to the
intently.
story, and I'm like, I was just looking. We got our hands in the same exact position. I'm like, I wonder what that body language means because he's telling the story. We're both just like, ooh. Just
I'm
listening.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it doesn't even have to be about star people. I mean, when you look at these avatars and saints, if you look at Yeshua, if you look at Gotama, if you look at Joan of Arc, if you look at, you are a threat when you can bring people together because people listen. That's why when dictators and what take over, what do? They get rid of the intellectuals. They get rid of people who have this because you're a threat. You're taking away. You're taking away from us. We don't need that. We need people who are going to conform.
Yep.
Yeah. And so as we move forward, because to me, it's an exciting time to be alive, guys.
I agree.
I mean, and kind of, I don't know. I kind of think I kind of chose on a spiritual level. I probably chose to be here, but that doesn't mean it's not scary. That doesn't mean that we won't blow ourselves up. But we have a chance to change the frequency of this planet by changing ourselves. Because you can't make anybody else do it. But if we change our frequency, which is more love, which is more integrity, which maybe is a little forgiveness thrown in, maybe a little more authenticity thrown in, we're doing as much for the healing of this planet as if you were working at the UN or something like that.
Absolutely.
I think we can't lose sight of that because we can get so overwhelmed. Oh, what's the use? We got to go through this. We got to go through that. But you don't have to do that. All you got to do is do what's right in front of you and do what's inside. Otherwise, every bad piece of news, everything that comes on the internet, everything that comes in a newspaper, it's going to throw you because you don't have a center and they want you to be fearful.
Yeah.
I think if actually you're just going exactly what you said. I've told a few people this. They're like, oh, I'm so stressed out. I'm like, stop watching the news.
Yeah.
I go, I don't care. I don't want to hear the CNN, Fox News, like which one's better, which one's. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. It's because it's amazing. If you turn your TV off, what's going on outside your window right now is completely different feel. You're not stressed. It's amazing. You can go out and you can actually have a conversation with people. It's just because right now the news is telling you what conversation you need to have. You need to talk about the vid. You need to talk about what's coming, the pox. You need to talk about these things. Get all stressed out, not, hate each other. Elections coming up. This is why we got to hate each other. But it's amazing when you turn that off. It's really cool how it just, you go out and you're like, hey, Bob, how's it going? Oh, it's going good. It's just like, man, I just cannot get rid of this stupid weed in my lawn. It just, what are you doing? And that's all you're doing. That's what you actually realize you have normal conversations with people. You're not sitting here trying to figure out what letter they are. You're not trying to figure out what pronoun they use. You're actually just having a normal conversation with somebody. I mean, it's really freeing. I suggest to everybody do it. Just turn out, even local news, turn it off, watch the weather. If you don't, so you keep up track, just watch the weather. Do that. Turn your news off. Quit looking at the Huff report. Huffington Post. Quit looking at the Drudge report. Just turn it off for a week, and then when we come back next week, when Joey's on there, comment in there and let him know how you feel. I guarantee you are going to feel 100% better when you talk to him next week. I promise you, you will feel so much better.
Yeah.
When I go out, you got to clear out.
My neighbor, who's also my landlord, we're very different on the political spectrum, but when we see each other every morning, we don't engage each other on that. It's how are you zucchini doing? My cucumbers haven't cross-pollinated yet. No, my zucchini hasn't. So where are the bees, man? And come get some tomatoes. That's what it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what our politics is when we de-hook. And I think that's I was so hooked into the news for so long, and at the start of the lockdown and all, Tanya and we said enough of these other narratives. And
to be clear, it doesn't mean that your politics isn't important. I don't want people to walk away, but what I am saying is that you start to get to see, I think especially people on a spiritual path,
Yeah.
they feel that if they're not having a heavy conversation, that somehow that it's not the path, but it's the everyday mundane of life. And every day you're not going to be hyped up. Oh, I just saw some auras, or I had a vision, or that's not the spiritual path. Those are byproducts of it, but it's the everyday, just working with my neighbor. Sure. Politics is important. I mean, we don't live in a utopia. And there are some people that I see very differently, and they see me very differently. I'm not going to sit up here and say I'm going to be friends with a neo-Nazi. But what I will say is that if the neo-Nazi brother or sister, if their car breaks down and I'm driving by, I'm going to say, hey, man, you need a hand? Do you know what I mean? And I can do that and still not see the world the way you see it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly the point.
Because it has to be real. I'm not going to go to someone who says they'd rather see me hanging from a tree and go, oh, well, come on, let's talk about your zucchini. But what I am going to say is that, you're a human being like I am. And if you're in a jam, if you will allow it, I will say, brother, can I help you? Sister, can I help you? That's what I'm saying, because that's
how you went over a heart.
Yeah, that's what's real.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's very important. But on the other hand, not but and look at the good that you guys do. I mean, this is on the airwaves, man. This is out there. Even star people are saying, okay, these are light workers, or at least they're trying, because this is out there now. And so just don't ever forget that you're doing a service. This is a ministry, for lack of a better word. I'm just thinking in those terms. This is a ministry that Brother Ansell has, and Brother Medea has, and Maddie has, and you got to treat it like that. There's a reverence, there's a sacredness to it. That don't let it get so old hat. Not that you do, but this is people are tuning in, they're changing, people are engaged. You see the people are saying, what about this? What about that? And so this is how we resist the status quo.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Knowledge is power is not trite. It's true. And so, another thing that they say in this executive summary, the limited amount of high quality reporting.
Oh, my God.
Reverend Carter writing his books and sharing, that's high quality reporting. Wes Roberts on the show the other night, that's high quality reporting. Go, I've been hybridized and I saw my babies on a ship. He's not getting paid. He's not making millions. This is not what you guys do for a living.
Why open yourself up to that ridicule?
Yeah.
Just use common sense, man.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. I mean, clearly you could see that it was 9 pages of saying stuff without saying stuff.
Yeah.
Which is what intelligence does.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those you mentioned, you listen. Yeah, just between like you said with Reverend Carter's book. I mean, right there alone, take one chapter of his book has 100 times the information that anything that they send out does. And that was the introductory chapter when he's explaining, the ministry. That has more UFO information than just, than this thing. I mean, this is the same thing. It's just like that. All I'm telling you is there's something, but we really don't know what to do because we don't really have an idea of how we're going to report it or, what information we're going to use. And our equipment is faulty.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they say we have 5 categories that we can put this in. Now we're talking about alien or other. I agree with you on alien. But other intelligences. So they say airborne clutter, the old chestnuts, birds, weather balloons, natural atmospheric phenomena, weather inversions, Venus, temperature things, glint off industry developmental programs. All right, Skunk Works and all of that kind of stuff. The other one is foreign adversary, right? Foreign adversary systems, Russia and China, let's face it. Who else has this kind of tech? And then they say a catch-all other bin. Yeah. It's flippant. It's disrespectful. A catch-all other bin. So, guys, if it's not the same old crap that we've been trotting out to you for 75 years, we're going to throw it in the catch-all other bin. That's like the. And does everybody have a junk drawer in their kitchen?
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
Where does this little tchotchke that I bought on, Pampered Chef, where does this go? Throw it in the catch-all other bin. We're talking about other intelligences. It's nuts. Right?
Well, now, you're right. And this is the thing, guys. Just think how much fear they must be in to continue to trot this out. And, just they're so afraid that they're going to get caught in a lie, which they already have been. Yeah. And this has to keep going on. See, that's the one thing about telling the truth. Like Mark Twain said, when you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything.
That's right.
Yep.
You just
well, that's exactly it.
And I'm not naive. I mean, if you're the greatest country on earth, how do you remain the greatest country on earth? By keeping other countries from becoming the greatest country on earth. I get that. It's a weird way to think to me, but that's why I'm not in government. But, Nietzsche, who was it, Nietzsche or was it Victor Hugo? Nothing is as powerful as an idea whose time has come. And like Victor Hugo said, no lie lives forever. And I got to tell you, they're not going to be able to keep the lid on this much longer. It's already it's already leaking. And so when it does happen, people like us, and listeners, we're going to be on the cutting edge of this.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to, the help that people are going to need, it's not going to come from the government. It's going to come from other experiencers. It's going to come from people, other healers. It's going to come from people who have had OBEs, NDEs. It's going to come from people who have had transformational experiences, because we won't be able to depend on the government to help us because they're so busy trying to keep a lid on stuff. I mean, I'm not trying to. It's not. I think I'm grounded in reality, but we see it now. I'm sure your listeners. They come, they say, look, they talk about the experiences they had. They want to share. You give them an outlet to share. The government's not doing that. If anything, they're repressing us. How long do you think that's going to happen? I mean, did you ever think you'd come to this day, really, where we know that it's not as transparent as we like, but the United States government is now just admitting a little bit that they're craft in our skies that they can't do anything with, or no? I mean,
I never thought. I didn't think we'd get here like when we do. I mean, I thought it was going to just be a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there, it's just all of a sudden, it's just like, wow, there it is, and it's just like,
it's right there.
Yep.
It's right. I mean, because they know, like they may not put it. They probably put it more eloquently than I would, but. They know that they can't keep it. They got to make some adjustments to this narrative, because it's shot full of holes.
Yeah. So one of the ways they're doing is they go, okay, so the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. Okay. Now, I seem to be in the minority here, so I want to bring something up. The movement from UFO to UAP. Unidentified flying object, but you have sky worms and light artifacts. You have orbs that are not a flying object. So I'm okay with unidentified aerial phenomena, but I'm also not naive. And Craig, you brought it up last week. I think it was nefarious. I think it was like these 6 or 7 name changes. So you're going to be disclosure, but then you're going to all of a sudden call yourself the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. What is that? Define that. Who would think to look that up? If you went, and folks, the PDF for this document that we're referencing is on the screen right now here.
Yeah, good.
So you can find it. You
Good
can
deal.
find it. But you're going to look up UAP. You're going to look up UFO. You're going to look up UAP task force. You are not, no matter how smart you are, and I'm pretty good with Google research, there's no way I'm going to type in All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office.
Right.
Yeah, you wouldn't even think. Yeah, you wouldn't even think of that.
So you're saying, hey, folks, here's a little bit of data. If you want more data, piss off. I mean, pardon my French.
No, yeah,
That's
no.
kind of what they're saying. Good luck. This is what you got. You got these 9 pages of what we want to tell you, and don't bother looking. Don't bother looking for anymore because you're not going to be able to find it. Can you imagine the money that is spent on rebranding, renaming, letterhead, business card? I mean, just look at the fundamentals. We all, run businesses or whatever. A name change is a huge deal.
But guess what? The taxpayers are the one paying for it, so they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. No, that's
think all you got to do is slap that sticker on that office box, and now you don't have to do the Freedom of Information Act on that box.
That's right.
Because it now says Resolution Office.
Yeah.
It just covered up the other thing. It's like, where's that box? I don't know. I just see the one for Resolution Office. Well, that's not under that. It's not under that order. Just set it off to the side.
So folks, I got to tell you, at the end of the month, mark your calendars. August 25th, there's a man named Lester Velez that's going to come on, and he has an organization named Opus. And take Reverend Carter's experiences and multiply that by 100, 200, 300. We are going to talk about it. He's written a book and all. The information is out there. The high quality data it's out there. It's been out there. I mean, Ingo Swann, right? Part of the remote viewing program, right? Ingo.
Mm-hmm.
Ingo wrote this great book, Penetration, in the 80s. Yeah. He said, I was put in a car. I was brought to a location, and they gave me some coordinates. So I said, okay, folks, I'll check your coordinates. And Ingo goes, is this the moon? And they go, tell us what you see, brother. And he says, is this the moon? Because I'm seeing structures and I'm seeing aliens and I got to break that habit. I'm seeing these beings. He probably did call them aliens at the time.
Yeah,
I'm seeing these humanoid beings and they're looking back at me. Well, anybody who studied remote viewing, and it's not supposed to be a two-way meter, they shut the project down. So when you read Ingo Swann's book, Penetration, when you read Reverend Carter's books, when you read this Opus book by Lester Velez, you're either going to call these people liars or you're going to have to embrace their narrative.
Yeah.
And once you start embracing the narrative, you say, this suppression is no good. Some of the people in our chat room tonight have used the word enslavement. I agree. Yeah. Craig, I use that with you and a couple of other guys we're close with, right? This is enslavement 2.0, what's going on right now with the inflation and the gas prices, and your median cost for a 1-bedroom apartment in the United States right now is $1,375. All the people who did gig work and bought, what are those things? The crickets. And started their own businesses and started eBaying and door dashing and delivering for Amazon. They're shutting all that down. We are hearing members of Congress say your duty is to get up and go to a corporation and put in your 45 or 50 hours a week and be happy about it. And people resisted that. And now suddenly they got no choice, right? At the same time that people are hurting, the banks had a record second quarter in history. Profits for banks in the second quarter, while the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates and Elizabeth Warren's going to Powell. Is this going to help inflation? Hell no. So why are you doing it? We're doing it. And gas companies. I mean, the head of the UN the other day said, tax these evil people. Tax these evil energy companies. So why am I kind of going politics? It's all of a piece, folks. This narrative in here is that same narrative. Go to work, mind your business, and your government will protect you. Your government will protect you. We're going to take your tax dollars and we're going to create more programs like All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Don't ask what it means. Don't try to follow the paper trail. You go to work. You put in your 50 hours. You send us your tax money, and we will protect you. And I'm a little passionate right now because it's a ministry, and sometimes you got to get passionate.
Yeah, you don't want this. Like I said, if you're trying to control, because I liken it to the old school when they used to do cartoons. If you watch the way Disney, Warner Brothers used to do their cartoons, they had all the cells that they would stack on top of each other. Well, but just by itself, Reverend Carter's thing, it's easy to, it's easy to cast stuff, but when you actually lay them all on top of stuff, when you have the Ingo Swann, you have Reverend Carter, when you start putting these stuff, you start to see this picture. You start to see what is coming on here. So it's more important to make sure that you keep doing those divisions. Make sure that, you put, I don't like what Reverend Carter's saying, so that way you need to make sure you don't listen to him. Well, the reason is because his piece is one of the things that's going to help you see the entire picture, and you've got to have these pieces together. And that's why it's so important to get together and talk and bring people together.
It's very important because I think as we go forward, it's going to be little communities.
Yes.
That are going to be helping each other. I don't care whether it's, whatever it is, it's going to be that. And maybe we need that more now, but we definitely have to keep talking, even when we don't want to, because the stakes are high. The stakes are high. And we have a saying at our church that we don't have to think alike to love alike. Don't have to do. You don't have to think alike to love alike. And so you just got to, it's like a relationship. If one person stops talking, the gig is up. If there's no communication, the gig is up. So
just because you don't have to hate somebody because you disagree with them.
Right. Exactly.
It's that's
what makes what a concept.
Yeah. It's we've all have opinions, on whatever subject, the latest thing that comes out. We all have our opinions of it, but it doesn't mean that if me and Reverend don't agree on a thing, that this is the last time we're ever speaking. I am never coming on the program again with him because he doesn't agree with me 100%. No, that is what they want.
Well, we'll talk tomorrow. But it's divide and conquer. It's Machiavellian, but it works.
Yeah,
it works. It works on all levels. Whether you're talking about politics, whether you're talking about culture, whether it's race, whether it's gender, sexuality. If I can keep you at each other's throats, I'm laughing all the way to the bank.
Oh yeah, you've done it. You've controlled.
I'm laughing all the way to the bank, man.
Yep.
And it's a shame, but people are becoming more woke, and I mean that. I'm using that intentionally. People are starting to see through the illusion.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I say that I'm awake. I'm starting to see how the world is connected, but I'm also seeing how people are trying to keep us from being. And yes, small communities within big cities. Yes, Lori. It's very important. But I'm hopeful, guys. I just want to say this. I am hopeful about the future. Okay, I'm not. I'm not. On the good ship Lollipop, but I'm hopeful that I can't afford not to be. And truth be told, neither can you, because otherwise you don't get up in the morning. You go, oh, what's the use? And that apathy is what they're counting on.
Yeah. It sure is. 3 weeks ago, I had Brent Hunter back on the show. And Brent's little piece of this puzzle is he's trying to get some changes made at the UN. Reverend Carter, you were a signatory of that letter, right? Get this done. Get the General Council to have more power than the Security Council.
Yeah.
And he's talking about Satyagraha, right? Which goes back to Gandhi.
Oh, my God.
Truth Wars. Truth Wars.
Yes, that's Gandhi, man.
Yeah. So, folks, we are delivering you little pieces of this puzzle. And he says, Brent Hunter says this. He says, we have no right to be pessimistic in an abundant, infinite universe. That's what you're saying right now, Reverend Carr. So
but I got a caveat though.
Okay.
And Julie, Miss Smolston, basic human needs are necessary. Got to be on the same page about healthcare. Got to be on the same page, about education, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is what I say, Brother Joey, and we all struggle with hope.
Yeah.
For brothers and sisters who have had someone's heel on their neck for so long, we got to leave that grace, that space, because people, if I haven't experienced the abundance of the universe, and that could be because my own consciousness hasn't grown, it can be because of oppression and marginalization. Everybody's not, you know what I mean? They can't get there, but they can get there, and our job is to give them hope.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're all kind of intellectuals here on the panel. Some of us are grassroots intellectuals, and we have our degrees or we don't. But in order to be an intellectual, what do you got to have? You got to be privileged. You got to have the free time to think.
Sure.
Right? So we're very privileged, us three.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And yeah. And so it's easy to forget that because there are a lot of grassroots intellectuals, but they got us on the treadmill trying to survive.
Yep.
That we don't have the leisure time. You and I have this time, and Brother Craig, we have time right now to sit and discuss these ideas. That's a privilege because everybody doesn't have it. Right. And that's important to keep in mind because we don't want to let the things we want make us forget the things that we already have.
Yeah.
I refer to myself as a garbage man from Dilbert, those comic strips, because I drive a garbage truck. And like you said, I'm sitting here the whole time, on my 10-hour shift as I'm picking up garbage cans. I'm sitting here thinking about this stuff in my head. I'm going through all these things.
That's what I mean. You're an intellectual.
Yeah. So as I'm going through these, I'm like, so I feel like I'm talking to the rat, over there that's, the dumpsters, trying quantum mechanics, trying to explain to him. It's like, you don't even realize that you're part of this bigger picture now. You just want that piece of scrap that is right there.
Yeah. It's bigger than that, man. That piece
it's bigger than that scrap you're going for. Don't you see what's out here?
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta up my game. Brother Craig is preaching to the rodents.
There you go. Well, listen, they need to hear too.
They do.
Yeah. So this is beautiful. But I'm just saying, when you think about we are sitting here, man, and sharing knowledge and wisdom, and people are writing in with their knowledge and wisdom. That's a big deal. It's privilege, because right now we only talk about privilege racially, right? But there's many ways to be privileged.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, think about it. We could be like those.
And I'm not ashamed. I love this. Whoever said, someone just said, I love this privilege. Yeah, because I'm using it, Lori. I'm using it to lift up instead of tear down. Yeah. As we all are tonight.
I know. I agree. Thing. I mean, I love this. The fact that I'm in this place where I can enjoy this. I mean, I could be like those people right now that are walking up that volcanic area carrying that big chunk of sulfur on my head to get it up there to the processing plant to earn 50 cents for my family for the day. I mean, it's just, and you look at it, it's like, and then it makes what problems you do have seem so small when you actually broaden past that.
Yeah. Because and we still got plenty of time, but I just want us, and we can't always do this because life is not like that. But I want to leave people with a little hope. Yes, they BS'd us, Rubio, shame on you, but you can't take away the hope and the love frequency that we're putting out. You can't take that.
No, that's the key. That's right.
We're not giving that up.
Yeah. No, when my freedom is inner freedom, you can't. You can't take that.
And that's what makes you dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, darn, yeah.
That's not, you're not going to get invited to the party.
No. Well, what
Yep.
did Gary Trudeau say? I wouldn't invite me either. So, you know,
yeah. I'm always leery of any club that would have me as a member.
that's right. Groucho Marx. There you go. So the intellect and wisdom comes in all kinds of forms. That's a good one. So gentlemen, I'm going to give you both the last word. What do you want to leave the audience with on this subject and the larger picture?
I mean, preach it, Rev. I mean, it's just love.
I'm going to let you go, Craig.
No, I just say preach it, Rev. You know, it's the love. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Just that, you just have to, like Dr. King said, you just got to have infinite hope. And I don't mean that you don't do anything, but, the stuff that we're working on now, some of us may not live to see, not because of something nefarious or sinister, because, time goes on and we're getting older, at least I am. But the thing is that just remember the things that we're seeing now that we never thought would happen. Yeah. Whether it's socially, culturally, politically. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I never thought I'd live to see. And I'm here to see it. And now I'm seeing my government go kicking and screaming into the future to eventually saying, we're not alone. Now, they're going to say what they're going to say. I already know that. You already know it. But there's some vindication because we've been doing this stuff for years. Joey and Craig, we've been talking about this way before we even knew each other. And now we're getting to see that's a blessing. Because look at the people who didn't live to see it, that were fighting for this, whether you were at Roswell and, maybe you saw too much, or whether you were at Area 50. A lot of people died.
Yeah.
They were taken out for this.
Yeah.
If anybody told me I'd be
having
a personal
what we're saying,
conversation.
really, these people didn't live to see. So, we're standing on their shoulders.
Yep,
so whenever you get down, think about them. Think about your ancestors. Think about them. Because what we're just blatantly just saying out loud now, yes, our phones are probably tapped, or we're probably, it's a surveillance state.
For sure.
But they didn't even live to see it.
Right.
Oh, my phone, I'm sure, is tapped. I'm one of those idiots. I'm one of those idiots. I'll tell a really quick story. It was a few years ago.
When you got an iPhone.
I'm at my dad's house and I'm helping him with his lawn. So I search up fertilizer that's best used for the lawn. And then we want to talk about how we're going to get the equipment there. So I look up a Ryder truck. So I've already searched up a fertilizer. I've searched up Ryder truck. And then we got on the subject of pistols. And so I started looking up firearms. So now on my search history, in a matter of 30 minutes, I've looked up fertilizer, Ryder truck, and firearms. Yeah. I'm like, I guarantee you I have a file.
Yeah.
Oh, no question.
I guarantee it.
You may even get a visit.
Hey, I told some of you privately, I'll tell everybody publicly without naming names. Last year, I was offered a position at a state university. So I had to go through the whole employment packet. Now, I had already been hired. So I'm doing my I-9 form. I'm doing everything. I get a packet, and in it is a document from the state, and there's a document from Homeland Security where I have to pledge my allegiance to the state and to the. Okay, once I submit, it was a packet of 32 pieces of paper. I went back in to check those. They were gone. Those 2 pieces were gone, and I was never hired. So they looked into what Joey Medea does when he's not teaching, and they were like, "No, thank you." Thank you, sir. So it's real. It's real.
Listen, and back in 2019, I did a conference at in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Steve Bassett was there. And I had been in conferences with Steve, but we never really got a chance to sit down and talk. You're busy, you talk. And he had his mom there. And his mom had a friend who was retired from intelligence. It was one of her mom's best friends. And she came up to me, and Steve said, "Mom, this is Reverend Card. I've been talking about him, yada, yada, yada." And so she said, "Oh, this is so-and-so and so-and-so." And I said, "Are you retired from intelligence?" She said, yeah. She was very no nonsense.
Yeah.
And she said, I said, you don't really retire from intelligence, do you? And she didn't crack a smile. She said, I enjoyed what you had to say. I said, yeah, but do you retire from it? She said, I enjoyed what you had to say. And I think the last thing I said, do you have a file on me? And she took my hand, she shook it. She said, Reverend Carter, I enjoyed what you had to say. But it was like, yeah, you don't retire. But my question, I was like, well, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
You had nothing better to do this weekend than to come to this conference,
Yeah.
So it's, but you know what? That's just part of the game. You just keep.
Isn't that the goal though? Is we want to go out. We don't want to go out with a file that's one page. We want to go out with one of those that looks like the stimulus package thing where it's this 2 foot tall stack and they've like the Matrix. I want to be sitting there with Agent Smith undoing all this stuff and
here's my file.
Just throwing all these things. It's all these things that you've done, you've done. I'm like, that's what I want.
Yeah, there you go. If you're not ruffling some feathers, if you're not getting shut down once in a while, if a teaching opportunity disappears on the state level because they don't like what you're saying, you're saying has some heft. Yeah. So just keep saying it.
Yeah,
keep saying it.
Yeah, what have you got to lose?
Juliet says they have warehouses of docs on us. That must be hangar 18A is where they have the three of
Julie.
us.
They got you too.
Yeah, Julie too. Yeah, she's got a great new book coming out. Reverend, I'm gonna type. You tell us you got some appearances and stuff coming up.
Okay. I'm going to be in the weekend of September 22nd to 25th. There's a Michigan UFO conference. Kathleen Martin's going to be there. My brother Bill, we did abduction diaries together. I haven't seen him since we've done that. So that's going to be lovely. And I don't know for sure yet, but I'm just putting it out. I got a call from Ancient Aliens yesterday, and they're starting the new season, and they wanted to know my availability.
All right.
But, they may do it on a day that I can't do it, but I'll keep you posted with that, or I'll post it. So those are the two things coming up. I haven't done a live UFO conference since right before COVID, and I hadn't done anything with Ancient Aliens since William Shatner. So we'll see. Maybe this is an upswing as we go to the last quarter of the year.
Well, you have our vote.
Thank you, brothers.
Thank you for spending this time with us. Craig, last word.
Last word, you teased it earlier. Tune in on the 18th. We're talking.
That's right,
about.
For the Voynich manuscript.
The Voynich manuscript.
September 1st, we're doing Nazi occult. And then on October 13th, we're doing the Templars.
And we're talking about the Templars.
Which is Craig, the coolest. Will actually be. Go ahead, you sell it.
No, I said I noticed that it's like because the 13th is that Thursday, so it's the 13th. So technically, right as it strikes midnight, will be technically right at Friday the 13th, or when the 13th turns into a Friday. So actually it'll all be connected. So I mean, literally we'll be right at, what so that's
people will be burning.
That's pretty cool.
Stake, yes.
Yes. Because I have my Templar necklace.
I
got my helmet on. I got my ring. And talk about a false narrative based on avarice and greed. Constructing a false narrative to destroy.
They wiped them out. They wiped all of them out, man.
Yeah, ugly.
I'm a 32nd degree Mason, so I know.
Support these amazing authors.
Thank you all.
Amazon. These guys have some amazing books.
Amazon.
Amazon. That's right. I just posted about all my books the other day.
Yep. Just go there, buy these books, support them.
Craig, tell us a couple things that you got going on upcoming on Three Beers podcast. That'll take us out tonight.
Yeah, we got Dan Duke coming to talk about his new book on the Wild West. He's got that one coming up, and then after that, we've got another lady coming on. We're going to be talking about Toxic Nation, the problems with the food supply.
Oh, nice!
So that's going to be So that's going to be a fun one because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of stuff that has to do with GMOs that's causing a lot of the problems people have.
Yeah. Hey, they're finding polio in the drinking water in New York City now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They just declared monkeypox a state of emergency.
Yeah. Yes.
Nationals. Who would think that smallpox would be coming back? So, guys, thank you so much. Namaste.
All right, brothers.
Our audience
Good
was
night.
very
Listen.
vocal tonight. We love it, and we will see you all soon. Take care now. We'll see you in the
See
outer
you, Laura
realms.
Greenlee. See y'all. Hey, listen, don't get sick. Take care of yourself.
That's right.
That's right. And keep loving. Keep loving as
Always.
you're